Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Tanya and You, Chapter 32. 32 is a very, very special chapter. 32, in fact, in a way, you could say is the heart of the Tanya, right? In Hebrew, what are the two letters that make up the number 32? Lamed and Beis, or Bet, Lamed Bet. And these two letters, Lamed and Bet, are also the two letters that make up the word Lev. Lev means a heart. It's the heart of the Tanya. It's the heart of Judaism. And what is it all about? It's all about love. Love to a fellow Jew. Love to a fellow um, to others. Love, having this relationship with others, not just having a personal, uh, individualized connection and relationship with me and God, but how it's so important to bring others along the journey, right? Have a relationship with other people, have a connection with other people, have a feeling of love to other people, part of our journey and relationship with Hashem. And how exactly is that done? And this is what the parak is all about. This is the heart of the Tanya. Parak Lamed Beis, Parak Lev, the chapter of the heart. Now, in general, we know, or Rabbi Akiva said, that Ahavat Yisrael, love of your fellow Jew, is a klal gadol, it's a cardinal rule. It's a principle in the Torah. In Chabad specifically, the idea of love to another person is also very much emphasized. It's a very strong central idea in Chabad. Interestingly, you may have heard that what is the Chabad movement called, right? So we all know it as Chabad house. It's also called Lubavitch, right? Have you heard the word Lubavitch before? The Lubavitcher Rebbe. Some people who speak more like Yiddish, they'll call it Lubavitch. Where does the word Lubavitch come from? So the truth is, you can Google online, Lubavitch is the name of a town in Russia. And as it is with many of the Hasidic sects, that their name is based on the original town where the original Rebbe, where it all originated from. So the town of Lubavitch is where the Alter Rebbe, the Alter Tanya already lived there briefly, and then his grandson, the Tzemach Tzedek, moved to Lubavitch, and that's where Lubavitch flourished for many years until basically the First World War, and then we left. But the town of Lubavitch was built by actually it was basically a Jewish town built by Jews, and they named it Lubavitch. Lubavitch was the first Philadelphia. What does Philadelphia mean? Brotherly love,
Brotherhood, yeah.
brotherhood, but more specifically, brotherly love, right? And Lubavitch also means love, brotherly love. Luba means love. So it's it's a city of love. And that's really what Chassidus is all about. It's all about love for each other, love for another Jew. Ahavat Yisrael. And that's what chapter 32 really comes to teach us. And the truth is, if you look at the flow of Tanya, beginning with chapter 29 and 30 and 31, that really deal with how sometimes a person is apathetic and doesn't feel in their heart, they don't feel a connection with Hashem, they don't feel any excitement and passion, enthusiasm, right? So we start talking about how sometimes you have to kind of break yourself and feel how distance you are from God. And then we go on to chapter 31, talking about knowing who our true self is. And then if you want to skip to chapter 33 about continuing talking about our joy and simcha, it flows nicely, it flows well. Chapter 32 was almost like a side parenthetic idea that was stuck in right in the middle of this conversation. But the truth is, it's perhaps, like we say, it's the heart of the Tanya. Perhaps the most important takeaway from Tanya is chapter 32. So let's delve into this chapter We'll do this today, and even though it's not a very long chapter, right? It's actually from the more shorter chapters of the Tanya. We're going to split it into two chapters, two classes, only because of the importance of this topic. So, where are we up to? Chapter 31 is where we ended off last time. Chapter 31, which is a powerful, powerful chapter. I just had a class in Lynn Coleman's house. She's not here this morning. And she said, just give that class again. It was such a good class. Just give that class. Um, Chapter 31 talks about would the real me stand up? Who is my true identity? As we spoke about in the earlier chapters of the Tanya, we have two operating systems. We have the soul and the body. We have the animal soul. We have the godly soul, right? We have self and we have selfless. And who is the true self? Who am I? Am I a body with a soul, or am I a soul with a body? Right? These are some of the language that we use, where we think about ourselves and we say, you know what? I'm so distant from God. I'm a failure. I'm lazy. I get angry. I have this flaw and that flaw. I'm not living up to my fullest potential. I'm distant from God. But instead of this causing a person to fall into a deep depression, well, if you look ourselves in the mirror and we ask ourselves, who am I? Who is the real me, my real self, my real identity? Is it my body? Is it my animalistic soul, which is a failure? Or is that something I got to deal with? But my true self is my pure godly soul, my neshama. And this is how I have to live. I have to live a soul-centered life, a godly soul-centered life. That's my true self. My body, which is an extension of my animal soul, that's something that's extended. That's clothing. That's something that's not my true self. I got to deal with it. But I shouldn't become depressed over it because, okay, I have failure, but that's not who I am. I'm not a failure. I have failed because I've given in to my animal soul, but I'm not a failure because my soul can never fail. My godly soul is pure. That was the gist of chapter 31. So the Alter Rebbe says in chapter 32, a person who lives life this way to the full, to whatever extent, to whatever degree they're able to live life this way, a person who's able to look at their godly soul and say, this is my true self. I live a life centered around my godly soul, and my body, my animal soul, is only secondary. If this is how I live my life, I have now a much better understanding of how I am able to achieve this most important mitzvah of ve'ahavta l're'acha kamoicha, love your fellow as yourself. A mitzvah, the Torah tells us in Leviticus, to love your fellow as yourself. And the commentators on the Torah scratch their head in wonder and say, how is this possible? How do we understand the fulfillment of this mitzvah? Love your fellow as yourself. Now, we all love, right? It's a good thing. It's very in. We're all into love. We want love. We're looking for love. We want love. Everything is about love. Love your children, love your spouse, love your parents. Love, love, love. It's great. It's amazing. How do we fulfill the mitzvah? Love your fellow as yourself. In other words, if I love a fellow as myself, great. What if I don't? I don't love my fellow as myself. How do I now fulfill this mitzvah? I'm a religious Jew. I look into the Torah. The Torah says, love your fellow as yourself, but I don't. Now what? See, with other mitzvahs, which are more, action related, okay, I don't feel it, I can still do it. I don't feel it, I can still do it. Light Shabbat candles, the rabbinic mitzvah. I don't feel up to it. Okay, do it anyways. I'll do it anyways. I'll light the candles. Put up a mezuzah on your front door. I don't want to. I'll do it anyways, right? I don't feel it, I can still do it. Right? Go to synagogue on Shabbat morning. I'm lazy. I'll do it anyways. So I can say, okay, my feelings are, I should do it with this with excitement. I should be into it. But if I'm not, I can still do it. I'll put on tefillin even though my heart is not there. Fine. But when it's a mitzvah about the heart, it's a mitzvah of feeling. And the Torah is telling me, love your fellow as yourself. But I don't have that feeling, right? If I tell you, do you like apples? No, I don't like apples. Well, like it anyways. No. If you tell me to eat it anyways, okay, I can force myself, I'll eat it. But I should like it? I don't like it. So you tell me I should love someone as I love myself. How is that possible? How could there be a commandment on a feeling in the heart? So that's the question. And the commentators, they come up with all different answers. Some say, you're right, the feeling in the heart. We can't force a feeling in the heart. We can't coerce you to feel. We could coerce you to do. Can't coerce you to feel. So what's the fulfillment of this mitzvah? What it means is treat your fellow as if you love them. So be nice to them, care for them, take care of them, call them, be sensitive to them. Live as if you love them. Okay, that's something I can do. I can force myself to be nice to someone who I hate. Okay. That's, I think, what Maimonides says, or others say. Some give a little bit of a different twist to the fulfillment of this mitzvah. They say, don't be judgmental on others. Don't judge them. Same way you always judge yourself favorably, always judge others favorably. Okay, so it's already something not just about action, it's already about a perspective, an attitude to other people. But it's also easier to work on yourself than an actual feeling in the heart. And there are many answers from great commentators and sages from throughout the ages to answer this question. What does it mean to have Ahavat Yisrael? But here the Tanya comes up with a new revolutionary idea. The Tanya says, no. At the end of the day, what is the mitzvah? Ve'ahavta, you shall love. The Torah commands us not to act as if you love, but to actually love your fellow as yourself. That's the mitzvah. How is this done? So the Tanya says, you want to know the straight and the easiest way to fulfill this mitzvah to its fullest of ve'ahavta l're'acha kamocha, whether it is an elderly person, a younger person who is just like you, someone who's very distant from you, someone who is observant, someone who's not observant, whatever the background is, everyone alike. You want to know how to do this mitzvah? Learn chapter 31. Based on last chapter, if you live a life of godly soul, that's the easiest way to actually fulfill the mitzvah. Again, we're not saying it's easy, but what we're saying is once you achieve this lifestyle, a lifestyle centered around our godly soul, then it's easy. Because then it's almost automatic. It's almost automatic. And why is that? So Tanya says something very powerful. And we have to be honest with ourselves because it's not putting us down. It's just being honest. What is love really all about? Natural love, right? We go through life loving many things and many people. Love that comes from the body. Love that comes from the selfish self, right? Animalistic self, which is more natural to us. Who and what are we loving? So this is the story where someone goes fishing and they catch this big pike fish. Oh, it's amazing. So they say, oh, my dad loves pike fish. Let me bring this to my dad. And guess what? The fish was able to listen and hear. And the fish says, ooh, the dad loves pike fish. Great. They're for sure going to save me and throw me back in the water because they love me. And the fish is all excited, rubbing his hands. I can't wait to meet this guy's dad. And finally, they come to his dad, and dad says, oh, look at this pikefish. I love pikefish. And takes out this big knife and is about to chop off the head of this fish. And the fish blurts out, you don't like pikefish, you just like yourself. Okay? Now, this pikefish was telling us a powerful lesson. When we love, What are we loving? Ultimately, we love self. And when we love things, it's about what these things could do to serve self, could serve me. I enjoy the taste of fish. Therefore, I like fish. I don't like fish. I like what fish does to me. I love sushi. I don't love sushi. I love the taste of sushi in my mouth. I love the experience of going to this restaurant and eating. So if I tell a friend, hey, why don't you join me at the sushi restaurant? We'll have a great time together. Is it because I love my friend or it's because I love myself? Now I want to have a good experience. And my friend who also loves sushi, okay, so you can support me and make my experience nicer and better. We have a business relationship. What's it all about? At the end of the day, I want to make more money. So I need you to help me make more money. And by the way, you'll also gain on the way. I'm a nice guy. I also care for you. But ultimately, it's what is my gain? And the truth is, on a more subtle sense, it's really all about all relationships. All relationships is about what I enjoy in their relationship. I like you. What about you do I like? I like the way you act. I like the way you speak. I like your personality. I like your external beauty. What do I like about it? I like the way it makes me feel. I feel good when I'm with you. I feel relaxed. I feel myself. Ultimately, it's about self. It's the way I feel when I'm with you. And if suddenly things change, your personality change, the atmosphere change, something changes, and when spending time with you doesn't make me feel good anymore, what's going to happen? I'm probably going to spend less time with you. Because ultimately, what is the drive? It's all about self. That's ultimately what love is really all about, right? Talk about relationships. When a relationship, when the foundation is love, which it sounds great, but ultimately, if that is truly the foundation, only love, then what happens? When it comes to a point where what I was loving is not there anymore, I don't feel the love, then the relationship goes away, which is not healthy. That's why sometimes someone I fell in love 6 months later, I'm out the door. What happened? Because what was bringing the love is not there anymore. Ultimately, it wasn't about the other person. It was about what the other person serves me. And that is not healthy. That's what happens all the time, but it's not healthy. We become very sensitive. We have a resentment. You said something, you did something, right? And it's not long lasting. So ultimately, what we're looking for is not love per se. We're looking for something in the other person where we could say, I want the other person for the other person themselves, like we do it for ourselves. When we love ourselves, why do we love ourselves? Do we love ourselves because there's something good about ourselves that we like? How does that, what's the expression go? I don't like myself, but I still love him, right? So I may be a failure and I may be very critical of myself, but I still love myself. Why? Just because this is me. I love myself. So are we able to reach that type of living where we see the other like we see ourselves? Not that we don't judge them, but we actually see them as an extension of self. And when we see an other as an extension of self, we're able to apply, or I would say automatically, that same love, that self love that we have for self, which is unconditional, that unconditional love is extended to others. And by the way, we do have that. We have that with family to a degree, right? When someone, let's say a parent child relationship, there is this unconditional love. Why does a parent love their child? Is it because there's something about them that they love? Or do they love the person? Just because you are an extension of me. You are my child. So I love you. Even siblings have that, right? Siblings may fight with each other, but ultimately there's a deep down innate love that we have for each other. Just because you're an extension, or ultimately we're loved because we have the same parent. So we're an extension of each other. That is the love, really, which is unconditional. It's not about the person, it's the person themselves. And this could be attained when a person is living a life of neshama. Then we're able to have this type of love for others. Because when my life is all about me, my body, myself, my ego, my survival, my gratification, that's what life is really all about, which is probably the default setting. Then love to another is really about their body and their selves. And question is, how can you serve me? And the moment you don't serve me anymore, I'm out to lunch, right? Someone says, "Oh, I used to be friends with this person many, many years ago. What happened? Oh, we used to go fishing together. I love fishing, and they love fishing, so we should fish together. And we had a great relationship. Well, what happened now? Why are you not friends anymore? Well, I don't go fishing anymore, right? So the whole relationship was dependent on something that we both enjoy. So I enjoy it, they enjoy it. It's a win-win. We have a relationship. But when we live a life of neshama, which is altruistic, and we view other people this way, so who do I see in you? I see your neshama. Your neshama, my neshama is one neshama. We're an extension of the same God. We are siblings. We're brothers and sisters. If this is the way we view other people, we view the element within us, the true identity, which combines us, which connects us, which unites us, and not the element within us, the animalistic soul, the body, which separates us. Then we can have true love. Because when we view each other as a body to another body, with two separate bodies, and we're each selfish. So I can have a relationship only to a degree of where you serve me. What could I gain from this relationship? I love the relationship because it makes me feel so good, which is great, which is most relationships, right? We think alike, we have the same type of background, we enjoy the same camaraderie, right? So okay, so we're good friends. But why are we good friends? Because it feels good to be with you. But that's really selfish. But if we're able to live a life that I am a neshama centered life, I see you as a neshama centered person. So now we're one. So no matter who you are, even if we have nothing in common, we don't talk the same language, we don't know each other, we haven't, but we both have the same neshama. I feel a love to you. I feel a connection to you. And that is, by the way, to a degree, we already have this. We're not creating a new love. We're just revealing what's already there. Give me an example. Unfortunately, I follow the news a lot, what's going on in Israel. And unfortunately, the news is not always good. Yeah, there was an attack. One Israeli died. Two Israelis died. Five, right? I don't know who they are. I never met them. I probably will never meet them or their family. But something goes on in my heart. Oh, this is terrible. Right? Now, I don't consider myself a bad guy. But when I hear about other people dying, an Italian died in an accident in Venice, I mean, we feel bad because people died is a bad thing. I don't feel that same feeling. Oh, this is terrible. When God forbid a family member, something bad happens to a family member, you feel it a lot more than another stranger. Not because we're apathetic to strangers, it's because we feel a lot closer to the people who we are close to. But when it comes to another Jew across the globe who we never met and we never will meet, but what happens to them affects us. And I don't know if this is true with other ethnic groups, right? If an Italian in Rome hears about something that happens to an Italian while they're on vacation and wherever in Timbuktu, they feel that connection. But with Jewish people, we feel this connection automatically. No matter where you are around the globe, we feel connected. I had this experience, perhaps you had as well, when you're traveling, you're in a foreign country, and you're a little uncomfortable, just a little uncomfortable because you don't talk the language. It's a different culture. It's a different style. And then you see, wow, Bet Knesset. There's a synagogue here. Let's walk into the synagogue. You walk into the shul, you walk into the synagogue, and suddenly you feel at home. You feel like this is my place. I feel connected. What connects you? You don't know them. They're foreigners. They don't talk the same language. No, but I feel connection because this is like my family. So we have this already a little bit. We just have to reveal it and think about it. The more we're able to think about it, the more we're able to live life of a soul-centered type of life, then the more connection we feel to other people. So it's almost like a litmus test. Someone who is trying to grow in their spiritual journey, if they wake up in the morning and they feel more connected to other Jews, you know you're doing what's right. If you wake up in the morning and you feel less connected to other people, you feel more isolated, there's something wrong. You're living too much of a bodily centered life. And your love to others are dependent on things. You're going boating together, you're going fishing together, you are having, that's all self. The more spiritually in tune we are, the more we live a more neshamadika life, the more automatically we will see, the more closer we feel to other people. That is what the Tanya says is really what Ahavat Yisrael is all about. How is this possible? Love your fellow as yourself. Is it possible? Yes, it is possible. It's not only about treating others or not being judgmental, actually having a love to others. How is that? If we understand that the other is not truly an other, it's really an extension of self. And the unconditional love that we have to self could also be applied to others. So it's easy once we have this attitude and this realization. It's not always hard. It's not always easy to reach that, not just intellectually, but also emotionally, that we should actually live a life of neshama. But if we're able to see ourselves as neshama and see others as neshama, then the love comes flowing automatically. So this is the first half of chapter 32. And next week, we should be able to continue with the second half of chapter 32, understanding what Hillel says, amazing, fascinating statement by Hillel, that Ahavat Yisrael is the foundation of the entire Torah. So we'll talk about that next week in the second half of chapter 32. But I'll leave you with this. Thank you for joining us this morning. A wonderful rest of the week and a wonderful Shabbos. And we'll see you on the other side.
Thank you, Rabbi Mendel. That was very good. But I'm going to, I have a question. Okay.
Sure.
Oh, should I ask now or should I text?
You can ask now.
Okay. So in the Seder, they have the mitzvah at the end of the morning and the morning prayers to love your fellow man as yourself. But when I read in the Tanya, it was really referring to Jewish neshamas. So what's the story? Can we love others who are not Jewish, who don't have a neshama like we have, as ourselves? Or do we put guardrails on that? Or
so yes, good question. So the verse says "Ve'ahavta lere'acha," to your fellow, right? It says to your fellow. Now, the Torah is very centered to Jewish people. So the Torah is giving us mandates for Jewish people, to Jewish people, right? So that's why the focus in the Torah is always Jews to other Jews. But not to say that we can't have this type of love to all of humanity. If we're able to really live up to this type of life that it says in chapter 32, we're living a life that's centered around the neshama, we could see others that way as well. Because yes, Jews and non-Jews have different types of neshama, but the idea is they still have a neshama, they still have a soul, right? If you're living a life that is true to your soul, you're going to see other people that way as well. So you're going to be able to have the ahava, the love to all of humanity. The Torah is always like, focused on Jews. It's, even though not everyone likes to hear this, but the Torah was given to the Jewish people for the Jewish people. But the idea of the Torah is to be applied across the
Across the board. Yeah, that's great. Thank you.